All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
That's the after one. Sorry. Welcome back, guys. Another episode of Loose Lugs. Here with Dustin Lewis as usual. I'm Chris Osborne. Nice to have you guys here. How you doing, Dustin? You ready?
I'm doing great, man. Had a good race Sunday. I'm happy. I'm very happy.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. There was finally racing, and this is what I expect for the mile and a half going forward. You know, we got Atlanta after Phoenix, so 2 weeks from now we'll see. We'll be talking about the Atlanta race, but this week coming up, Phoenix. I think it's going to be a good race. I'm a little worried with tire wear. They had a lot of tire issues at Vegas, and honestly, that's not been an issue at Vegas before this way. So it makes me wonder what's going to happen at Phoenix as far as tires go. A little worried about that, but let's talk about Vegas.
Yes, let's talk about Vegas.
Like about Las Vegas?
Man, where do I begin? I mean, right out the bat, the racing was so much better than last year. The cars could follow; they could get side by side. I mean, this is what NASCAR. This is what we've been craving for since the 550 package came in. I don't even know what to say. The racing, I was like, this is incredible. NASCAR's done it. They fixed it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, and I will say, during the race, Clint Boyer said something interesting. He said he never got the hang of the 550 package. He was basically just riding around the races because it had gotten so bad. There were so many tracks where you never lifted. I mean, if you don't have to lift in a turn, where does the skill portion come in? I mean, if you're not having to work the gas, you're not having to work all you're doing is basically keeping the car straight in turns. I mean, not to discredit anybody's driving skills in NASCAR, but it doesn't sound like you need to do a whole lot and still, be in NASCAR. So I was very happy with the racing. It really looked like this was the car we wanted. Like you said, we saw side-by-side racing without people, getting into each other. We saw great passes for the lead, which was really awesome. You mentioned something to me yesterday after the race in a text. You said another dual teammate win. And I didn't even think about it that way, but it has been that way every single race. You go to Daytona, it was Blaney and Cindric. You go to California, it was Larson and Chase Elliott. And then you end up here, you have Larson and Bowman. But really, if you go even 2 laps before that, without a caution, it would have been Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr.
Yep.
It would have been a teammate battle. So that's pretty cool. I don't know that we ever started out a season like that.
I don't think so either. It was just something that I had noticed because, like you said, it looked like Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. were going to finish 1-2. They were so far ahead of everybody else. Then that caution came out, and then Bowman and Larson. That was a good overtime finish for this. Like I said, this car, magical what this car has been doing these past 3 races.
I will say it this way, though. If you have, everybody stopped for tires in that last stop. It had to happen. Everybody was on bad tires. But you had the 2 tire stops, which the 2 tire stop was everybody taking right side tires that were brand new. The guys that took 4 scuffed tires. They said that. I have no reason not to believe it. I believe that was the strategy. The problem I see, the quick snap judgment is that the guys with 2 tires, obviously that was the smart thing to do. I will say it this way. If there's more than 5 laps, I completely disagree. I would say 4 scuffed tires would have prevailed. Because they said they had 42 laps on the left side tires. And with the left rear problems we've been having and the overall tire wear, eventually that would have caught up with them. And if Kyle Busch had a chance, I would say one more lap, Kyle Busch wins that race. He
Mm-hmm.
gets 2 turns after that lap, he's going to win. So I see the debate. People are saying, obviously Greg Guys made the right move. He did for this situation. But don't think going forward, well, I've got 8 laps left. Why wouldn't these guys take 2 tires? Absolutely not. Not with 42 laps on left side tires. It seems like the balance of this car is so good that we're actually burning left rear tires. And if you go back, last year before, nobody even looked at left rear tires. They weren't wearing. It's the least used tire on the car. The ones they check the most, right front, right rear, because those guys carry the load in the turns.
Yep. And you saw it in practice with the 18 car. He loses that tire, goes to a backup car. And talking about Kyle Busch, that car prior to the race was not a car. There was no engine, there was nothing. They put that car together, and he almost wins the race. I mean,
minus that caution, I think he does.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think Truex had anything left.
Yeah, I was expecting the JGR guys to win that race, especially right at the very end. I was like, hey, no one can catch them. They're too quick. Them tires, they're holding up.
Yeah, Truex seemed to have a longer run car, and it seemed like he was catching Kyle Busch really quick. But when he got to him, you kind of saw a little bit of what we saw last year with the dirty air situation. You get within, a few car lengths, and if you're riding behind them, you're not getting proper downforce to your front end. I saw a little bit of that. It was kind of discouraging. Martin was trying to do different lines. You could tell he'd start in the middle, and he would try and go a little bit lower, and Kyle would match it. And I would imagine when you are driving hard in that draft wake and your car is not doing what it wants to, you're going to wear out the tires. So it sucked for him. I don't think he would have won even if it stayed green. What do you do, though, if you're Kyle Busch? You have to take tires. You're coming down for tires. Would you have taken 2 tires?
Yeah. There's always been an idea of mine that when you get very late in a race, you get a late race caution, and you know for a fact that a lot of the guys around you is going to take tires, whether it be 2 or 4, you always go for 2. Because you cannot risk taking 4, getting into traffic, and not being able to cut through that pack. Especially if you're talking about last year. This year you could probably do it. We almost saw Kyle do it, but he didn't have the laps to do it. So 2 tires was obviously, to me, the smarter call than risking it and going for 4.
I think the number of cars that took 2 tires is what made it work. If you're Kyle Busch and you're coming down, and you've got to get tires, you're on pit road for that. The argument of 4 versus 2, well, if he took 2, he would have been the first car out in a 4-car, two tire situation. It would have worked. But what if he was the only car to come down? Because you don't know who's taking what tires. What if he comes down? He's the only car to take 2 tires. Then is it worth it? Because the guy lined up outside, likely Larson, who has probably 4 scuff tires, which it sounds like they were anybody that had 2 tires left, they put on 2 tires. But if you put 2 tires and scuff tires, I'm not sure how well it would work. It's an imbalance they usually don't do. It may have worked for a 2-lap shootout. Then you're looking at, well, I took 2 tires to make sure I had track position, but I was the only guy, and I didn't expect it. Now there's 20 cars behind me with 4 tires. So it's a lose-lose situation for the leader every time. See it almost every race. You come down with a green-white checker, and the conversation is, do we give up track position to try and get a win? And it's a tough call. I don't want to be the crew chief for those. Ben Bayshore did the best thing that he knew he could do to give his guy a chance to win. Kyle Busch just couldn't get around William Byron. Byron did his job. He slowed him down long enough for it to be a 2-car race. So really the win assist goes to William Byron there.
Yeah. Another thing I will point out, still talking about Vegas. Again, we made our predictions, and I said Logano was going to win this race.
Yeah.
Again, third week in a row. Where have the Fords been? I mean, I saw Logano and he was like 15th or something. I was like, well, my prediction was way off. What is going on with Ford? I mean, Chevys are doing they got Daytona.
They did really well at Daytona all week, and they had the clash, and they did really well. I said Denny Hamlin. He had an issue, and he didn't finish well at all.
Uh,
But in my article, I thought Kyle Busch would be a very good pick, and he was there at the end, just didn't work out. I also picked Reddick, who finished seventh, and then um, I don't remember who else I picked, but that one wasn't anybody close. I mean, that was a gut shot. But I don't know. The racing was great. I think the racing next weekend is going to be good. Like I said, I'm genuinely concerned about tire wear. What are these guys going to have? NASCAR finally got a little smarter with the practice situation and gave them 30-minute practice instead of 15 and 15 because they were splitting it, and it was 15 minutes for one half and 15 for the other. So it was
mhm.
whichever group you had 15 minutes, and that wasn't long enough. So I'm glad they fixed that. We'll see what happens. This weekend they haven't announced as of yet what the practice schedule will be, but they need another 30-minute session because they need to get this tire wear situation fixed. What do you think
Yeah.
in the preview? You want to throw out some early calls?
Well, I mean, I said Logano last week, and that didn't really work out. I said Larson at Auto Club. That worked out brilliantly. Oh, so we're going to Phoenix. We haven't seen this car have we seen this car test at Phoenix? I don't think we have.
No.
So
Uh, I take that back. I think they did test at Phoenix.
was it televised?
No, it was on Fox Sports One or whatever, but not like the main channel. I'm pretty sure they did Charlotte Roval, Charlotte Full, and I think they went out to Phoenix. I'll have to let me Google that.
Well, if they have done testing, God, I mean, picking the winner is going to be so difficult because my gut wants to say I'm going with the defending champ, Kyle Larson, who did really good last year at Phoenix, won the race, won the championship. But a part of me is looking at Gibbs, seeing how they performed prior to that last caution at Vegas, and going, they had the entire field beat. No one
Yeah.
could touch them. I'm going with my gut here. I'm going Martin Truex Jr. is going to be your Phoenix winner.
That's a good pick. Toyota's due. They're the only one that hasn't won a race so far, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems like the Gibbs guys they've got speed. Situational wise, I think they are struggling to finish races. I mean, you look at Daytona. Truex won both stages, had a very good car. I think he would have been in the conversation for the win. Gets
Mm-hmm.
wrecked.
Yep.
And you go to California, there was a time when, all three of the major veteran Gibbs guys had it coming through. I mean, Denny Hamlin looked strong. Kyle Busch came from 6 laps down to finish 14th in that race. I mean, I tip my hat to him. You know,
Absolutely.
most drivers would have quit. I think Kyle Busch from like 2 or 3 years ago would have quit and said, I'm done. But he kept at it. They had a lot of cautions that allowed him to get back up there and compete. But
Mm-hmm.
I think they're due. I think they've got the speed. They just need to get the right situation. Like we just said, 2.5 laps from winning and finishing probably 1-2 with Kyle Busch getting a win. They're
Oh
there. They
yeah.
have what they need. They just need the situational things to work out. So I like that pick. I'm going to go same team. I'm going to go different driver. I think this is a good Christopher Bell track. Um,
Wow.
pretty good last weekend until he spun. He's got some strength, and I'm going to say he's a top 5 contender. I'm not going to pick him for the win. I'm kind of done picking winners. We don't have one. I'm awful at it this year. Last year was great. This year's awful. But one, we don't have enough data to really make good predictions. We can't use anything from any previous year because these cars are vastly different. uh, like the tire issues. You can't predict when. Well, look at California; they were having overheating problems in all the gears, or in the Gibbs cars. I mean, you
Hmm.
can't predict things like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to make an assumption of who's going to do great with all this stuff going on. So I'm going to go top 5 guys. I think Christopher Bell's got a really good chance. Um, I'll go forward. Joey Logano. This is a good track for him. Track is obviously,
It is. It is.
but I'm just going to pick Joey Logano because Keselowski's got some things he's got to work on with Roush.
Hmm.
He's that's a team, but he's got a lot of work to do. So I'll go Logano, and then the third guy I'm going to stick with the hot hand and go Eric Jones. He's killing it. That wreck last week really hurt his momentum, but Daytona had a chance. Had the lead for a good chunk of California and was running, consistently in the top 10 all day yesterday before he wrecked. So I think he's going to have a good race again. The petty GMS stuff's working, man. Those guys are getting good finishes. They've got strong cars.
Uh, Sticking with the theme of this next gen car, you're really seeing we're not seeing the guys that we would normally see running up front. It's not just a domination of Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano. You're seeing, I mean, Ross Chastain. He finished third.
Yeah.
Third. He could have won this race.
He had a really good car.
You're seeing a lot of these mid-pack, upper mid-pack teams. I mean, they're Daniel Suarez last week, Ross Chastain this week. By the way,
Yeah.
Eric Almirola, 6th.
He's the only car to have finished in top 10 all 3 races.
That is insane, ain't
Isn't
it?
that crazy? The guy that last year couldn't even, except for one New Hampshire race, could not find a top 10. And
And
he's
here he
finished in
is.
every single race so far. Like, tip my hat to him, too. Yeah, Ross Chastain's got a win coming. It's going to happen. Both those cars, Chastain and Suarez, I think they're good for each other. I think they've done really well so far to bounce off each other with information, and that team's going strong. They've got a great owner. Pitbull's involved, and that's great. The money's there. They had a great owner before Pitbull was so involved. Justin Marks is he's a great guy for NASCAR. I have really enjoyed him bringing a new face around. I hated seeing uh, the situation where the team that they bought, they were folding. Felix Sabatis was such a big role in that team 20 years ago. And I hated when Felix pulled the plug and said, yeah, my NASCAR days are over too. So, but you get new teams and you see new great things. And the same thing with 2311, they're going to come around. Michael Jordan's got the financial backing working. They've got great sponsors. They're going to be a team eventually that's going to do really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay, so we've
covered Phoenix. We covered Vegas. What else was? Oh, and they did have a next gen test at Phoenix, January 26th. We hit teammate duel victories a little bit. Kyle Busch's comments on the win. I've never been a Kyle Busch fan, and it's mostly been his mouth and his attitude. He will dog his own team if he's mad. I don't know how anybody still works for that guy. Sometimes he's just the worst. So, what do you take those comments? What do you think should people be saying to Kyle? I mean, it's just ridiculous. We could even say what he said. The words they're not acceptable for this show.
I mean, he's kind of pulling a Hamlin last year at Martinsville, kind of calling him not calling him a hack per se, but kind of insinuating the same thing. I mean, he won race. He won the race. He was in the right place at the right time. He genuinely outdrove his teammate to the line. And granted, Martinsville, he spun out Hamlin, but I mean, it's a short track.
Yeah,
We've seen it happen before.
that's short
Come
track.
on.
Yeah.
You can't I mean, you go into a short track knowing that if a guy's got a chance to win it and all he's got to do is move the guy in front of him, he's going to move him.
Tony Stewart would move his mom.
He would. He has said it. And we have said it on the show.
Yes, last week, actually.
Exactly. But going back to his comments, I mean, we could say the same thing about him winning a lot of races. It's the same, or it's going even further, going in the Truck Series and Xfinity Series, it's the same guy winning every single week.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Bowman's not winning every week. He got, 4 wins last year? And they were all complete. And he wasn't even in the championship 4. He just won races. I mean, what can you say about that?
I don't know that he has any room to talk at all. Bowman won stage 1. It's not like he snuck up with 2 to go and just won the race. He had a strong car. I remember right at this competition caution at lap 40 or 30, whatever it was.
I think it may have been 30.
He was the guy catching the leader. He was the fastest car on the track. I watched the lap times kick off. He was consistently one of the fastest. So to go after him, I know it was on his team radio, but that's public. People have that channel. To go after him the way he did, just kind of, it's Kyle Busch's character. It's almost an entitlement. Same thing with Denny Hamlin. And I don't understand with Hamlin why he gets mad at people for wrecking him or pushing him out of the way. It's what he does to win. Mm-hmm. We've seen Hamlin do it. We've seen Kyle Busch do it. Instead of calling Bowman the showman, Bowman the closer. I know Harvick's been the closer for a long time. He's not anymore. Bowman comes in and closes out races way better than Harvick has. I mean, Richmond last year, he hadn't had a good car all day. He hung out, and all of a sudden, with 30 laps to go at last, it's all Bowman. Dominated the rest of the race. He is a closer.
He reminds me, it's kind of going off that. He kind of reminds me of how Alan Kawicki used to drive. You'd see him up front every now and then, but when he was in the position to think, I could win this race, he doesn't. He closes it out.
He's just a guy that he never loses his focus. If he's not there when it is, 100 laps to go, he's not worried about it. He knows he has 100 laps to get there. He's got a good crew chief. Greg Ives is a great crew chief. Would love to have him on the show. I'm working on that, by the way. Yes. I don't know about that one. That's a stretch, but I'm working on it. We do have Dr. Jerry Punch, coming on next week, by the way. 1 week from today. I'm excited for that. There is a lot of history that guy has forgotten that I'll never know. I mean, he was Mr. ESPN for NASCAR.
Absolutely.
I'm going to try my best not to ask him about the Kurt Busch thing. But I want to know if there was ever a real apology from Kurt Busch. I doubt it. But I'll probably just let that one go because it's not my business. The guy he's a Hall of Famer for NASCAR.
Yeah, especially when it comes to TV broadcasts. His voice is iconic to NASCAR.
Yeah. Claire B. Lang is one that I really like right now. She does all the post-race interviews and stuff like that. But she has her own show on the Sirius XM NASCAR radio, Channel 90. I have it. It's pretty much always on in the car. She's a great one. She gets a lot of good interviews. But Dr. Jerry Punch, he's nostalgic. You can pull up some of his interviews. Matter of fact, he had one with Jimmy Spencer. Man, I don't even know what year it was. It was at Bristol. And he was talking about when Kurt Busch wrecked him. It may not have been that exact race, but he was talking to Jimmy Spencer. Somebody had wrecked Jimmy Spencer. And he asked Jimmy what happened. And Jimmy flat out said, "That son of a spun me."
I think that was Bristol.
And let it go. What else do you say to Jimmy Spencer?
Yeah, especially after he got wrecked. I think that was '02. I want to say 2002, because I
I
think
don't know.
Spencer was driving the 41 car. Let me
41
see.
or the Target car, I think is what he was driving. Yeah. But anyway, he'll be on the show next week. I'm excited for that. The guy's got, like I said, a Hall of Fame career in broadcasting. He's been there and done that. He lived on NASCAR pit road for decades, um, and he'll be great to have on the show. I also would love to, if I could pick somebody's brain right now, I want to pick the mind of Jonathan Hassler. He's the crew chief for Ryan Blaney. They have
Mhm.
given Ryan Blaney a car every week that I think could have won. And every week something happens. And I just want to know, what do you tell yourself? What do you tell your driver when you're getting the speed that he has? I mean, he was, 20 feet from, at worst, a top two at Daytona.
Mhm.
He had a really fast car at California. He had a very fast car at Las Vegas. By the way, did you see the snow at the
I did.
Xfinity race?
I did.
I have never seen that. I
It
think that's
snows in a desert.
well, not just the snow, but during a NASCAR race, they plan the schedule accordingly. We do races in the north midsummer. We
Mhm.
do races in the south in the winter. That way we can avoid the snow.
Yep.
Here we are, snowing like crazy in the middle of Las Vegas.
It's not the first time it's happened.
I'm sure it's not. It's just the first I can remember. And I was
Bristol '05 Xfinity Series race.
really?
I want to say it was '05.
You gotta look that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that is correct.
That's pretty cool. I never even thought to check, but I haven't seen one. But that was pretty cool to see. Let's see what else we got for tonight. Exton showing out. We talked about that.
2006 Food City 500.
Oh wow, that's the Cup race. Was
Qualifying
that
was canceled due to extreme weather conditions, so the field of the tough. That's not important.
is that the
Qualifying
one
was canceled due to
that Bush
snow,
won?
sleet, and rain.
I think
Wow.
that's the year Kurt Busch won.
Let me see. It's got the results right here. Tony Stewart.
Tony
Tony Stewart
Stewart.
won that race. See, I thought it was the Bush race that got. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me right. That's qualifying. Yeah, Kurt Busch did win that race.
Okay, I thought so, but I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Kurt Busch won that race.
Between us, I think we've got a lot of memories in NASCAR. I think we've got the history locked down.
Yeah, I was 1 year off.
It's all good. So, what else? What else you got? Anything?
We kind of touched on the next gen car being, it's went 3 for 3 for good races. Daytona, I mean, it's Daytona. It's Daytona, but Auto Club, best Auto Club race in years. Las Vegas, probably the best mile and a half race in years. This car, NASCAR, the people that made these cars, they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
These cars can follow, they can pass, they can suck up to each other. Where has this thing been? We had to slog through 550, dirty air, side force, high downforce, low horse. This car has just exceeded my expectations. I went into this thinking 670 package, diffuser. It'll be an improvement, but I mean, it's not hard to improve on what we currently got.
right.
But I mean, wow! I saw something during the race. I think it was going into late into a tire stint. You saw the guys going 186 into turn one and mid corner 169.
Yeah,
And you hear that throttle roll off, and then you hear him slowly pick it back up. Yes. No
Mhm.
full throttle around this racetrack. You feel you hear that lift, and then they slowly get back on the throttle little by little, so the car doesn't come around on them. Something else that Clint Boyer pointed out is he wants to see these cars back how 2005 had them, where if you push just that little too hard, it was going with you. You're done. It's going to the
Yeah.
wall.
Car control is a premium. Not everybody can do it. I can't do it.
Hmm.
I'm sitting here.
But I mean, this is what we've been wanting. And everyone on YouTube has just been like, yes, yes, this car, they get it. They understand. This is what we've been looking for.
Yeah, if they can figure out the left rear tire wear situation, this car will be great. Overall, tire wear, has been an issue, but the left rear should not be wearing the way it is.
No.
So once they figure that out, they really can start working on better aero package because this is we're so early, and to have this get a racing so early with a new car. If you go back and watch Car of Tomorrow first season, almost all of those races, with the exception of some of the plate tracks, were boring. You could not pass. Dirty air was the biggest problem. Those
Hmm.
stupid looking fenders they had cut such a big hole in the air. I mean, if you got the lead, you could keep the lead.
Yeah.
You were not going to lose it because unless something happened, nobody could pass you. And then go to the Gen 6 car. The first half a season with that car was boring. Same thing, dirty air. Couldn't figure out how to make the car work. They were burning right rear tires at a ridiculous rate with the Gen 6 car.
Hmm.
Bad. So to have a left rear issue, I think that's something they can fix easily. That just takes time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Talking about, generations of cars and the first few events that generation had being boring. I mean, you think about it like this: you're having tire issues with this this current gen car. Last gen, we had tire issues when they first came out. Car Tomorrow, they had tire issues, but it did not really play a big role to 2008 at the Brickyard, where you had Goodyear drop the ball and you couldn't go 20 laps on a set of tires.
yeah, I do remember that.
You had tires exploding. Did they throw a caution? How many cautions did they throw? 20 every 20 laps, so the teams can come in, get new tires on, send it back out there, then throw the caution again.
Yeah,
Like, I hope we don't have that, but
and that's the hard versus soft tire debate.
mhm.
You get a hard tire, you're giving up traction for longevity of the tire wear. Softer tire is going to work better. It's going to make the car feel better, but it's probably not going to do you well. I don't know. It's maneuverability. There's factors for both. When it comes to tires, and I've said this for at least a decade, Goodyear should not be the only company that they should be allowing to put tires in. Give these guys a second option. Add a second tire company to come in and say, this is the tire we run. And then Goodyear says, this is the tire we run. And at certain tracks, allow teams to choose a tire. Because and this is the rain tire thing too. It's the debate of if it's raining, do you take the rain tire knowing it's going to stop raining? Or do you chance it? It's almost the same thing because if you pick one tire, and let's say Goodyear's tire wears faster but is faster for a certain amount of time versus the other tire that over the course of a green flag run will outpace the tire for Goodyear because of drop off.
Mhm.
Which tire do you choose? And I'm almost always going to go with the short run tire because in NASCAR, it's not very often we have green flag runs anymore. And with a new car, you really haven't seen it, but maybe once, twice
Yeah.
outside of Daytona. But when we get later in the year and we get green flag runs, that other tire option would be beautiful. You'll
Yeah.
have guys that are on different strategies altogether, and it would make for really cool strategy plays by teams because they know how long these tires are going to last and they know how hard they can push the tires. I don't think we're ever going to see that. Goodyear pays a lot of money to be the exclusive, and they get a lot of money for selling tires. So, but it would be nice.
The only thing that I have against having two competing tire manufacturers in a sport is you get what's called a tire war, and where both companies are going to try and extract the maximum amount of performance out of the tires. And we saw this with Hoosier and Goodyear in the late 80s and the early 90s. Yes, there were races where, Hoosier was better, Goodyear was better. Both tires seemed equal. But then you had races like Charlotte, where both tires were very fast, very grippy, but they exploded over a certain distance. Goodyear ended up pulling out of that race, came back and said, okay, our Charlotte tire sucks. Here's a Daytona tire. And those tires were you couldn't make them things explode, but they were super slow. That's the only thing I have against having two competing companies. You might have that one race that just blows up the whole war.
I think competition breeds better racing. So if you had two different tires and you've got data behind it, you go to a place like Charlotte and you say, well, I know Goodyear's got a good tire, but it's not great for Charlotte. Let's say Hoosier brings in a tire. This is a great Charlotte tire. And you let them choose. If they still want to try the Goodyears, have at it. But if they want the Hoosier tire, because it's going to give them more stability, give them the option.
You kind of would see the whole Bridgestone Michelin thing back in the early 2000s with F1. You'd have the guys that, we want to race the Goodyear tires because our team uses Goodyear, but then you have the Hoosier guys, and sometimes they switch every year. I mean, it would be cool. I would like to see a different tire manufacturer come in and be like, hey, we think we can make a better tire than Goodyear. Let's prove it. I would like to see that. The only thing I wouldn't like seeing is if it got to the point where we went into say for example, Hoosier came in the middle of this year, said, okay, we want to start making tires for the Cup Series. It go on for too long, and then we end up getting this overdone tire war where nobody wins, but the teams are spending absurd amounts of money because they're buying. Let's just say they go to Charlotte and they think, okay, Goodyears were good last year at Charlotte. But then they put them on there, they send the car out there, and they're a half a second off the pace from where they were last year. Well, how's the Hoosier tires doing? Well, they're a half a second faster than us. Okay, so let's buy a complete set of Hoosiers. Let's go out there, and then they learn, they only last 10 laps.
Right.
That's the one thing I don't like about this. But I mean, if it helps with the fact that we don't have multiple tire failures in a race, if Goodyear can pick up the pace, okay, we need to probably harden a lot of these compounds because apparently these tires are not faring real well.
Right.
Then I'll buy it.
And I'm good with that. I think the competition will breed a better tire. Competition breeds competition is kind of something that we've always said. Said in football, said in NASCAR too. We'll see. I would also like to point out that there's an announcement supposed to happen this fall for the Truck Series. They haven't said the big announcement of what it's going to be. I think Honda is coming into NASCAR, and I think they're going to put a truck in NASCAR next year. That's my guess. I just saw a bulletin last week that said there will be some kind of announcement this fall pertaining to the Camping World Truck Series. I'm guessing that it's Honda. They've linked Honda to the Cup Series. I don't think that's even close. I just don't see it. It might be something they start in the Truck Series and have a season and say, well, this wasn't bad. We can handle this. Then try the Cup Series, Xfinity. Jumping straight to the Cup Series could be a huge risk financially. First off, you've got to have teams willing to try your car.
Mm-hmm.
No data.
Yep.
Some of these teams, Toyota's only 6 cars deep. there are tons of Ford and Chevy. It would make sense to bring in a new, but not Honda. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how it would work or who would go to Honda. If I had to pick one team that's like it's a 4-car team that would make that kind of switch, it would be Stewart Haas. They've done great
Hmm.
with Ford. They did great with Chevy, and said, okay, we'll go try Ford. But if things don't, get dramatically better for them, they may be the test dummy to say, we'll try Honda. Tony Stewart's a risk taker. He has been his
Hmm.
whole career, and that's why they drive Fords now. They left great equipment with Hendrick and went the road less traveled and brought Ford back to the front.
Yeah.
That's the team I would say they might be the one to bite. I don't think Honda is in a position to jump to Cup. I think they take the opportunity to go to Truck Series for a year, see how the the whole organization takes to it and go from there. There's truck teams that would switch in a heartbeat. And there's smaller teams that would say, hey, you help us with the cost, we'll jump ship real quick. I can see GMS even being one of those teams. They have a four car stable now. They might be a team that tries a Honda. But anyway, you got anything else for us?
Speaking of the whole Honda stuff, I mean, that would be a very interesting looking race truck. I'm looking at a picture of their trucks right now, and I mean, that would be a very interesting looking vehicle.
The car would be cool. It'd probably be the Honda Accord,
Hmm. That's what
but
I was going to say.
I think there's substance to that rumor because it's been talked about for a few years. Like I said, it's a financial risk to jump to Cup, so they may do like a year with Truck Series next year, and see how the data looks, see if they're competitive, see if it's worth going into. These manufacturers don't necessarily make a ton of money off the cars. I mean, obviously they get a chunk of change, but it's not like you join NASCAR to get rich. They join NASCAR to win championships.
Hmm.
Where they make the most money is the endorsements that follow. So, just something to keep in mind.
I will say this: a Honda Accord with the next gen body style would look. That
It
thing would
looks
look
cool.
good.
I really like the look of the Toyotas. Of
Hmm.
the 3 cars, I like the Toyota the best, even though I mean, every driver that I root for drives
Chevy.
a Chevy, you know,
Yeah.
but those Toyotas are nice looking.
And think about what a fourth manufacturer would do for NASCAR. I mean, we've had these three manufacturers since Dodge bowed out in 20 and start of 2013.
Hmm.
I mean, I would be 100% supportive for a fourth manufacturer, whether it be Honda or hypothetically Dodge comes back. I doubt it, but
Yeah.
any manufacturer coming back, saying, okay, we're going to throw our hat in the ring in NASCAR. We're going to be the fourth manufacturer. I would love to see that.
It's a long way to think back, but Joe Gibbs used to drive Chevy.
It's
They
hard
used
to
to,
believe that Toyota started in 2007. No, yeah, 2007. And it's 2022. Then you said 6 Toyotas in the field?
there's less now than there were 10 years ago.
Ain't that
Crazy.
something?
Because 10 years ago, you had all the Gibbs cars.
Hmm.
You had some of the smaller teams. Michael Waltrip Racing I think
Toyota.
they were still around,
Hmm.
and you had a few smaller teams. Now it's all Gibbs. You got the Gibbs
Gibbs, yeah,
Ford, and then 2311, which is owned by Denny Hamlin. So
yeah.
I mean, that's basically their satellite team. And somebody asked me the other day, why isn't JR Motorsports fielding Cup cars? And I mean, that is an easy answer. Right now, Hendrick has 4 cars.
Hmm.
They also supply, I think, 6 different teams with chassis, with engines. If you bring up JR Motorsports, I mean, you're asking them to make even more. materials. So unless there's a plan to alleviate some of those teams that are getting that equipment, I don't know that JR Dale Earnhardt Jr. Would be in a position to say, yeah, I'm good with that. Plus, he's openly said the cost of charters is way too much. And he's right. And it goes up every time a charter is sold.
Yep.
You know, you look at this buyout that Trackhouse did. I don't have an exact number, but I've heard it was upwards of $80 million between the shop, the two charters, the equipment that they don't even use anymore because it's an old car. $80 million.
And it's another thing you could tell them if they ask you why Junior Motorsports is not in the Cup. I mean, NASCAR a few years ago, I think they condensed the field size to only 40 to go to the show. I mean, you just say they only put one car in the field. Think about it like this. On average, you're having about 39 cars a race. That's only leaving one spot. And that's for any other guy that has a car, wants to qualify for these races. I mean, I'm not saying Junior Motorsports wouldn't get in. I mean,
well, they only had 36 or 37 cars last weekend. So, I mean, if you show up, you made it. But I think it's a monetary thing. I think, you know, Junior is of the mindset if he can't buy a charter and guarantee a starting spot, I mean, he's not going to put a team together, hire people, you know, do all this if they're not guaranteed a spot every week. That's a big risk that he's not willing to take. And I agree with him.
Not right now.
Until a team comes around that's willing to sell, like Spire. Spire has, I think they still have two charters, 7 and 77. If you could get them to come off one of theirs for cheap, I think he'd do it, even if it's just one car. But I think the future looks like, you know, you've got Penske has a satellite team with the 21 Wood Brothers. Joe Gibbs has a satellite team with the two 2311 cars. Stewart-Haas has somewhat of a few satellite teams. You could consider almost any Ford in the field because most of them either get it from Penske or they get it from Stewart-Haas. So you could put any of those guys in the mix depending on what week it is. I think the future looks like a 4-car team with a 2-car satellite. So Hendrick eventually will be in that market. And then maybe he'll say, hey, Junior, you want to bring 2 cars up? I'll buy 2 charters because the guy's good for the money.
Definitely.
Charters. Bring me 2 of your best drivers, and we'll put this in development status. And I see that being the future of NASCAR. And if you go with that route with all the big 4 car teams, you got 3 of those. Add 2 to those, then you're adding 6 to 12. That's 18. That's almost half of all the charters. 36 charters. So it'd be interesting. But I think that's what the future looks like.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what Red Bull does in Formula One with their junior team. You know, they have the main team, which is Red Bull, and then they have AlphaTauri, which is the junior team. It's where they bring up their developmental drivers. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a 1-to-1 similarity, but it sounds similar.
Right. Well, I mean, kudos to them if they can pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think at some point it'll happen with JR Motorsports, but there's no push to do it right now. And you know, if we're going to be absolutely honest about JR Motorsports, they have not been quite as dominant the last couple of years as they were at one point in time. I feel like they fell off a little bit last year. You know, Gragson came out of nowhere at the very end, but Justin Allgaier didn't have a great season. You know, Gragson up at that point didn't have a great season. Arnett was on his last few races. He was retiring. Now Sam Mayer's in there. Josh Berry full-time. But they haven't been quite as stellar as they once were. So once they get back to that point, I think maybe the push will be, yeah, we need to ride this success. The money we're making on Xfinity, give us some corporate sponsors, get us a couple cup rides, see what happens. But like I said, the charter, they have to have a charter. I don't see Hendrick pulling the trigger, and I definitely don't see Junior pulling that trigger without charters.
I agree with you. 100%. I agree with you.
Do you have anything else for these lovely people that are failing to comment on our show? I appreciate that. Cool. It's nice to have comments sometimes. Hint, hint.
No, not really. Other than I'm, just based on the first 3 races of this year, I'm extremely excited for Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'll just give you, my whole thought process going into the end of this year. I knew Daytona was just going to be Daytona. I mean, it's Daytona. Can't really mess it up. It's just Daytona. But when we went to Auto Club and saw how the car raced there, I was like, oh, okay, I like this. Maybe Michigan, Michigan's been a bore fest. Maybe this race will be, with how Auto Club is. I mean, my goodness. Michigan might be a good race this year. And then you have this 1.5 mile Las Vegas, not a particularly great track with the 550, and we have the race we had. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it in right now. Locking the answer in. Every race this year, maybe outside of Texas, is going to be an incredible race this year.
One day, when you're hanging out with your dad, you have to ask him what they gave me as a nickname.
Wasn't it Howard?
Yes, it was. Howard the Duck. I didn't know if you'd know that or not.
Yeah, when they told me that you were looking for somebody, that he called you Howard, and I was like, that is not the name on this profile right here. I'm not seeing a Howard here. And he's like, no, that's what we used to call him. I was like, oh, it's a nickname. Gotcha.
So my mom raised me. She was a single parent. And so a lot of the dad stuff wasn't there. I would always go across the street to their house with tube socks on all the way up to my knees. And Tony would usually meet me in the driveway, your Uncle Tony. Like, Howard, you got to fix your socks if you're coming over here. And he'd go out there and roll my socks down. And it may have even been Dusty, but I'm pretty sure it was Tony.
It was probably Uncle Tony.
There was always something off about me. And they'd be like, Howard, come here. Let's fix this. Got to stop waddling like a duck, too. But we used to have fun over there, man. They had a half pipe. They had go-karts. They had everything that I did not have on my side of the street. So I lived over there. And I can't believe they put up with me. I was like, I think I'm about 6 years younger than Dusty. And 7 or 8 years younger than Tony. They were good sports. They come on over, let's play. Whatever.
Well, that's just what they did. They got in this, they played till they got in trouble or broke something.
Well, what usually broke was me. I kept breaking myself. You'd probably hear about it, but we had some good times. I had fun tonight. This was a good show.
Very good show. Very good show.
Web put it in.
That may have been Uncle Tony on that one. He's home, so I think he is watching this. So that was probably him.
See you guys, Dusty and Tony. It was fun, man. Make sure to like us and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, ASAP Sports Network. So you search for. They are great people. They do great things. They provide us the platform. We give you guys the content. They're trying to build up their fan base as well, and we're trying to do ours. And they're supporting us, and I appreciate them. They have the Fox D Network. Our show actually airs on there as well. The Roku channel they have YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, like I said, Tiki Live TV. They have all kinds of places where you can catch this show, catch all of their shows. They're doing great stuff. So please go follow them for me. If you don't have anything else, man, I'm going to call it a night.
I have nothing else. I think this is a good stopping place till next week.
Next week, we're going to blow it up. It's going to be another great race. We're going to have all kinds of stuff to talk about. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys have a good evening, Dustin. See, now I'm going to get too mixed up all the time. Dustin. Have a good week, man. We'll see you next week.
All righty.
Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365 5, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.